Alvin C. York is a familiar name across East Tennessee. The Medal of Honor recipient is known for his bravery in World War I. But what he did when he came home is what he wanted to be remembered for.
And this used to be a hog lot.
Gerald York can tell you just about anything when it comes to this small town of Pall Mall.
I lived in this house until I was probably 4 or 5 years old.
The town's history is also his family's history.
I remember him as being just a super guy.
His grandfather is Sergeant Alvin York, one of the most decorated soldiers of World War I and a Medal of Honor recipient. A man who tried to avoid being drafted, citing religious exemptions.
He said, you know, the Bible says do not kill, so I don't want to fight.
But he was drafted anyways. It was 1918 in France when Sergeant York guided 7 men against more than 100 German soldiers. He single-handedly took out more than a dozen before they surrendered.
He said, I just did my job. I just did what I had to do.
After the war, York came back to his hometown. He and his wife, Gracie, settled down and had 10 children. His work wasn't over.
So my grandfather's concept was there would be another wing just like that built here. And it would have dorms and a cafeteria. So people could come here and stay, go to school, learn a trade, and then graduate.
York funded this and the York Institute with money he made from a movie about his life. A movie he only agreed to fund the schools.
Then he had his stroke and never got to finish the last part of it.
And while York taught the people of Fentress County, he was also teaching his grandson the importance of serving others and his country.
I ended up being an advisor in Loc Ninh District, Ben Long Province on the Cambodian border.
He enlisted a few years after his grandfather's funeral, rising to the rank of colonel.
Excellent experience. Wouldn't trade it for anything.
And when he came home, there was one thing missing: his grandfather.
It would have been nice to go over experiences, because you can only do that with someone that's been there.
And while he's not here physically, his spirit lives in these hills.
He wanted this.
Colonel York is now the chairman of the Sergeant York Patriotic Foundation, continuing to educate others about his family history at what's now the Alvin C. York Historical State Park.
That's my favorite picture of my grandfather. That's how I remember him.
In Pall Mall.
You look like him.
Oh.
Casey Wheelis, WVLT News.
This Medal of Honor moment brought to you by the Garza Law Firm and Guardian Foundation Repair.
Well, the York Institute is still operating today as the only state-run high school. The original building is sitting empty in Jamestown. Gerald's working to preserve it, but the pandemic has slowed those efforts. The family's hoping it can be used for education in some way.